When CityPlannerPlays posted his 1-hour city challenge video, it seemed like a serendipitous opportunity given that I had only just recently started posting on my YouTube channel. Unfortunately, in the past week I have not been at my computer since I've been traveling, but I wanted to make sure that I had some sort of plan for the city since I was only going to have a few days to put this video together. And since I couldn't hop into City Skylines, what I did instead was I took some screenshots of the map, Rock Island here, and then I threw it into Procreate and just kind of mapped out where I wanted my road network to go. So that's what you're seeing on the screen now is the progression of that. And what I did is I basically just took those yellow lines and said that those would be the arterial roads, and then the light blue lines are the collectors. The orange lines would be local roads, and then the purple lines, that's going to be pedestrian focused roads or paths. I also didn't put much thought into exactly where certain types of zoning would go, like industrial versus residential, but broadly speaking, the density is going to be in that bottom right corner, and then the industrial and power production is going to be at the top where that smaller grid is. I put in some smaller neighborhoods around the island for some lower density residential. I'm not sure exactly how much I'll need that, but the roadway network is there for that. And I do want to put some there at least just to fill out the space a little bit. And while this is primarily a challenge within the game of City Skylines, it's also a challenge for me personally just to stick with the creation of videos and to create within a deadline that's set outside of my own deadlines. So I think it's a great opportunity just to work within a confined amount of time. But without further ado, I do want to just get started. So I have a timer up in the top right, and then I have my own personal timers to the side so that I can keep track of my time. And I'll go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1. And that little delay was just me setting my own timers. First thing I do want to get done is I want to delete this railway because I won't be using it and I just don't want it to be visible. The next thing is I'm going to get started on this entryway into the city right here. And I just want to lay out some more or less straight roads that I can anchor off of. And I have it paused now, and I'll unpause it once I get some zoning in. And then up here, I want to have a straight line going something like this out to this area over here. And then that'll swing over that way. So let me connect this in as well. And then I want to frame this other side as well. And then I want to make sure I get my defining road in here, which is this pedestrian road that passes by this hill right here. And that's going to kind of define the entire grid for me. And then what I want to do is I want to have a small water tower just to get the city started. And actually, I will go with this French one. And I'm going to move this later on, but for now, I'll just throw it right here. And the reason I want to get that down just right away is that I want to start zoning as soon as possible. These windmills are also going to be a temporary thing. I'm just going to kind of throw them a few up there. And this is really just to get me started, and then I can start building the population. And hopefully I remember to remove these lines at some point. But that will just get me started, and that is purely just to get a population up and running. And I will be essentially redeveloping these areas. let me go ahead and put it on 3 speed and just start building things in. And I want to make sure that I have some key elements, like some commercial areas on some of these corners, particularly like probably one commercial area right here. And then I kind of just want to fill out probably this whole space here and this whole space here, just with some zoning. If it zones in, that's fine. If not, that's also okay. What I want to do next is I want to make sure we get over to our industrial area since we have that demand now. And I want to make sure that I have this arterial right here in as well, because I want that to be I want that to essentially cut off the city, cut past the city rather, so that it's easier for industrial vehicles to get around the city without having to go through. And since I have the demand, I'm just going to keep on zoning this lower density right here that I will ultimately be getting rid of. What I want to put over here is actually a small coal power plant. And before I do that, I'm just going to zone up a little bit more of this low density. And it doesn't matter too much where it goes. I'm probably going to be deleting most of it. Let me also just get in my first industrial. And another thing I want to do while this industrial is coming in is I want to actually put in some logging and forestry industry. And I want to put that over here. So what I'll do is I will populate some additional trees in here. And I don't want any of the young ones, but I'm just gonna kind of pepper in a bunch of these spruce trees just to make it a little bit more dense. And then pop in, I think, probably just 1 or 2 of the forestry industry over here. I'll bring that out on a dirt road, probably just around here. I'm going to slow down the simulation as well, just while I do these things, because I don't want to run out of money. What I want to do now is actually bring up this road here into this other upper area here. And I'll just kind of snake that through. What I want to do is actually make sure I delete that home there and 2 adjacent homes, just so I have the terraforming right. So with that there, I can also now move my French water tower up onto this hill, which is where I wanted to have it in the first place. And now that I have some of this medium density, another thing I want to get started with is actually putting that down and replacing some of what I've done here. And I'll kind of just, yeah, what I'll do is I'll pause. I want to get rid of all this. I know that much. And then I'll place everything in here with medium density row homes. And I'll again zoom through this, and I'm just going to kind of like make a couple different sizes in here. Hopefully that water issue resolves itself. This seems to not be connected. Okay, so it's not able to pump to match demand, which is interesting. So what I'll do is I'll add a small water tower. I'll just add that kind of in here. Unfortunately, I did not get the zoning that I wanted here. And my hope is that with these kind of irregular block sizes that the zoning looks a little bit natural, or at least the building types look different. That's actually more what I'm going for. Just a variety of building types. And then I'll do the same here, delete everything. And then over here, I want to start getting in some, I don't have the medium density yet, so actually scratch that. What I'll do is I'll kind of continue out this zoning pattern. And I actually need to fill out my grid a little bit further. Then in this area, I do want to replace a couple of these with some larger commercial buildings. And what I'll again do is actually right here is I'll put in some additional of the medium density. And I'm noticing I do have some demand here for services, so I will also take care of that. I think I want to concentrate a lot of my services probably on this Applegate Street if I can. And then I'll unlock with one of my development points the crematorium, so I think that'll be important instead of having the larger one. And then I also want to put my landfill over in this area. So what I'll do there is if I can fit it in this right here, I'll try. No. So I'll have to rethink what I was doing here. And then I'll pop that in right here. And then I want to continue out. I'm going to actually slow down the simulation a little bit because I want to continue out this particular arterial road that goes around the island. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and replace some more of this zoning here. And while I'm at it, I want to put some smaller commercial areas right in here, just so that they have something over in this vicinity. Then I'll go ahead and fill out most of the industrial here as well, pretty much as far as back as it'll go. Then even in here, since we have the space, I'll put some in. And then I want to go back up here, and I want to think about having some smaller residential zones, and we'll move our low density up here. I'm going to zoom through this as well still. And up here, I'll put a little bit of waterfront housing because I think it looks nice. And then within kind of this sort of an area, I think just having some EU low density will be fine. And then even up here, if I have some demand for it, I'll put a small commercial area. And that really messed up zoning, and that's super unfortunate. So let me just kind of finagle that. Hopefully that was a one-time thing and it doesn't keep occurring. And then I want to bring also a road all the way over here. And let me do a quick time check. So we're about half an hour in, and it's I'm basically gonna have to basically build this one road, and let me delete these and the connecting lines here. So while this was handy in the beginning, it's actually kind of now hindering my speed here. I do also want to make sure I start getting in some of the bigger buildings that I want to have. And those are going to be kind of concentrated in this sort of area. I don't actually want that straight there. Yeah. So in this sort of an area, I want to have those concentrated. And I want to also make sure that things are focused on this like little roundabout thingy I've got going on. So I'll see if I can get that to work. That's good enough. Yeah, so what I want to have is basically some larger buildings right here, as well as kind of fronting here. And I think I'd rather have those be European buildings. I think they'll look a little bit better. And this is, I kind of want to have like a density gradient forming out from this area. Okay, and let me make sure I also get my paths in, because those are important as well. So I want one running straight through, kind of over, and then actually what I want is a circle here, and that'll become clear in a second. So what I'll do, and let me pause again really quick. Actually, no, I want things to build in. It needs to be done. So I'll place some oak trees in this area. And then in the center, hopefully I can get there fast enough. I want a fountain. And then what I'll do is I'll go back in here and bring these a little bit closer if I can. There we go. And the last thing I want to add, I don't know why these keep appearing, is I want to get just a few benches in, and this is the last detailing I'll do, because I want this to be the most special place in the city, essentially. And that's just going to be a few benches. And that will really be it right there. And then I'll bring my paths through get rid of this. If you've ever seen or heard of Sofia, Bulgaria, that's kind of the inspiration for some of this, is the garden cities there. Or I mean, it's not, there's just a lot of green space in Sofia, Bulgaria, so I'm kind of imitating a bit of that here. And you know, you'll see there's some general imperfections here, and I actually want that to be a little bit different. Not everything needs to be perfect. Just trying to get the basics right here. I'll put another one of these there and make that a little shorter. Another one here. And then what I'll do is I'll connect these paths back here all the way through. There. And I think that's good enough for what I'm looking for. What I'm going to try to gun for now is the low density, or rather low rent homes from the French pack. So that's what I'm going for now. And really just trying to also fill out as much housing here as I can. I'm being probably a little too picky here in terms of what's building in, but just gonna have to keep on keeping on. So yeah, last thing, I kind of mentioned this earlier, forgot about it, was I want to get a road through this side, and that's going to go up here and all the way that side there. It's going to kind of carve into the mountain here. Bring that around this if I can. It may be a little bit bumpy, but I'm okay with that. And then I want to connect it over on this side. Just going to be kind of like down this hill. It's a little bit steep, so let me terraform. Then I also want to connect that this way. Okay, so that's just a few suburban-ish neighborhoods, more rural, I suppose. And I think the rest of my zoning, I want to focus just over here, most likely. Quick time check. So about 15 minutes left, and I want to essentially dedicate all of that to putting in everything I'll need over here. And I'm going to take out just all the loans I can and start putting in some of these other services. So put police there, fire. This is a fairly good looking building, so I'll put that kind of in this corner here. I don't think that unlocks the French. Oh, it does. Okay, so that's good. I want to start building out some more like low rent housing areas. First, I'll put in the schools actually. I think I want a small elementary school, maybe around here. And then the high school, I'll put somewhere that I can actually get it in. The same area though, and right there. And then I think this is the first place I want to have some of that low rent French housing. And I just want to build, okay, I'll see what pops in. So let me get rid of this one. I want to create some space for that one. Let's see what pops in if I put it there. Okay, that's good. And over here, I think it's valuable to have maybe just one more commercial building, and then I'll put in another one of these French buildings. And maybe two of them, and I'll do it like that. And then I do want to get some offices in place to do that. I think it should be central, and maybe just in this sort of an area near the arterial road that I have going on over here. So I'll just kind of pepper in a few. This I'm not too concerned about it being exactly perfect. Maybe put a few here. Then again over here, I want to put some of the low rent. So let's see what comes in. I might be able to, yeah, sneak one in there as well. And I also want to get maybe some of these larger towers if I can. And those again, I think over maybe in this area. No, first what I'll do is I'll start putting in my medium density again here. Just delete everything here. Regretting doing that, so I'm gonna just fix that. And I think over here, a bunch of lower density, or medium density rather, whatever kind of comes in. Let me put that in actually. Put that in one of these spaces. So that overlooks the sea there, the lake right there. I think here, again, I'll try to just fill out what I can. And it looks like I do need some more lower density. Let me see what I can do on that front. Let me put in the other thing I wanted to do is have a little path network here. So that's it. I just had my 10-minute warning go off. Man, this is tough because I don't have that high of a population still. I'm gonna probably just start replacing these kinds of areas with bigger buildings. I don't know how much that will help, actually. And even just some of this low rent stuff should go in, I think. I can actually just like replace some of these commercial. I think that's good as well. I'm just going to put some of the waterfront here. Try to create some spacing. This is definitely something I wish I would have done earlier. It's probably too little too late at this point for these kinds of things. That's good enough there. Let me see if I can just spray and pray with some of these things. Yeah, so there's 4 minutes left, and I think at this point, really, it's just a matter of trying to zone as much as I can. Not a whole lot I can really do at this point. That's unfortunate. I think that might have been a mistake to do that, actually, because I don't think I'll have time for that to zone in even. Yeah, 30 seconds. Man, maybe I'll just toss some trees in to make it look nicer. Allegedly. And that fire is like raging too. A little bit concerning. Jeez. Yeah, okay, so that's it. That is the end of what I've got. Pause. And made it to 5,800. That is not nearly as high as I think the highest populations will be for this, but I think I got what I was going for. I wanted to build something like this just because this is on an island. And I think in real life it's like a park or a national park or something like that, state park maybe. So I wanted to build something that I think honored that natural environment. So that's kind of why I went for this like large park in the middle with a central plaza, and going with kind of like a garden community feel where there's paths going through these green spaces surrounded kind of like by larger buildings. And it also gives kind of a central downtown feel, even though the city itself is quite small, and I've got a massive fire going on, and that's great. But yeah, I think like in general, I'm more or less satisfied with how this looks. There's a small community on the hill here. There's some houses up here. There's generally a decent amount of variety going on. A large power plant there, which I wanted to use the power plant instead of the wind energy, just for essentially the aesthetic of that on the hill. It kind of goes against my natural environment build, but yeah, that's more or less gonna have to deal with that. But yeah, I think overall, getting some interesting looks over here. That's interesting, those things. But yeah, overall, I'm satisfied with the way it looks. Just I wish I could have gotten a lot more population in. That is a lot more challenging than I was expecting, that I only got to 5,800. At the end of the day, I think it looks It looks nice. Kind of has what it needs, and somehow I am making money even though my city's on fire. That's interesting. I'm actually surprised though that I have a positive income. With respect to the initial plan that I had made, I think I stuck to it decently well, but ultimately it's kind of hard to build out a city on paper in that way, or rather on my iPad, because you just don't really know like the unit spacing and everything. Like you'll notice I have very small spacing here and over here, but in the center here it's much larger. I ended up having to do that just because of the way that I built this pedestrian area here. But I think it was useful to have that guide at the beginning, specifically just for getting some housing in right away, because I already knew kind of what this area would look like, and I knew that I would need to build out here next. So ultimately it was helpful, but I did not realize how difficult it is to just get in a lot of population very quickly, because I'm much more of a like slow and methodical player when I'm playing this game. But yeah, that's it for this one. And if there's any sort of feedback that you have on the video editing that I've been doing, or the way things sound, really just anything, please feel free to leave that in the comments below. I'm greatly appreciative of that, as I'm still new to this. If you like the style of building that I do, I would encourage you to check out my other series that I have going on called Costanoa County. I'm building out a city on the San Francisco map that's somewhat inspired by the actual city of San Francisco. So feel free to check that out. But with that, I will see you in the next one.